What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Flips Nations channel. Today we have on for a second time Michael, also known as TonaFBA on socials. Excited to talk all Amazon FBA with him and how he's excelled in his online business. Michael, welcome again for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So for those that don't know, can you maybe just tell the audience who you are, how long you've been selling, and what are your primary models when selling on Amazon?
Yeah, for sure. So most of the people on the internet probably don't know my name is Mike, which is hilarious. But I grew up with too many Mikes, so I go by TonaFBA. It's a little more unique. I started in the sneaker reselling world and kind of pivoted into Amazon thanks to some friends that were doing it. Started with retail online arbitrage like everyone usually does, coming from the sneaker world. And over the course, I think last time we spoke, I was entering the wholesale kind of side of things.
Right.
So I'm probably like 80-90% doing wholesale with a little bit of brand direct. I do have two brand direct companies that I work with. I do work with some other wholesalers, distributors, and I'm dabbling a little bit into private label. I don't want to rush that, but I'm in the research phase for that. But right now it's primarily just wholesale right now.
Right. Yeah, yeah. For those that don't know, me and Tona both started sneaker reselling and botting, and that's kind of where I knew Michael already from, and then we kind of just meandered our way to Amazon, and here we are. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk to him too much during sneaker botting, but I knew of him, and then we kind of just connected after we both got into Amazon. So you're the only person I can say that about. So pretty cool, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, for private label, I know most people that are viewing this are more so geared towards online arbitrage and whatnot, but are you product researching kind of like competition wise based on keywords and stuff like that, or more so just like product itself?
So I kind of have a product in mind. I'm obviously going to still kind of, think about that. Obviously, no one wants to tell people what their product is until they actually like have it up and running with the trademarks and stuff like that. But I am still doing like lots of keyword research. I think you and me, since we have a little bit of an audience, we kind of have a leg on the competition because we can actually promote our products to our
Right.
audience
Right.
and get improved keyword research, even though technically it's manipulation to Amazon's eyes, but they aren't actually going to know that.
Right.
So for us, we have a little bit of an advantage because if we kind of think of a product that anyone can use, which is something that I want to develop and I have something in mind, I think we kind of have a competitive advantage for that. So I'm kind of in the research phase, still looking at keywords, using Jungle Scout for that right now. Um, but things might change. I mean, the product, someone might tell me the product sucks. I might change my mind. So we'll see. But I think it is a really good idea. There's lots of variations that can go with this product. And, you can always bundle stuff on Amazon. I feel like that's a big opportunity nowadays.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's still the gold standard is having your own brand.
Mhm.
Flipping things and wholesale and whatnot is always a plus, but having your own brand and getting your own return on what you spent on for one brand is excellent. The only difficult thing about having private label brand on Amazon is you're competing against a lot of big money. And what I found through my own private label brands are those keywords that you compete with. Someone might bid a higher value on that keyword to the point where you can't even compete with that keyword anymore because you don't want to spend as much money on ads. And that's
Yeah.
that's I wish I started private label like back in like 2011, 2012, where all the keywords were cheap, but now they're so expensive because the ones that have big money will drive up the bid for those keywords because they put so much money into it. So
Yeah.
but if you can find a niche where there's not other competition, then you can, spend as much as you want on ad money, right? So
Yeah. I think this niche is pretty good. There isn't a lot of like main companies that have like 50% of the demand. Everything is like, you know, 20, 20, 20, 10, 10, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1. Like there's a great distribution. Like there's a good 5 to 10% between each brand. There's no major like dominator, which is good. But like you said, like the cost per click and all that kind of PPC stuff, most people
yeah,
don't realize like you might have 10K to invest, but 5K of that's going to go right to PPC. And
right to
if you
PPC,
break even, from what I've been told, if you break even in your first year, it's kind of a win. If you break
right.
even within your first 3 to 6 months, it's kind of a win because you are spending a lot of it on ads. So it's a lot of learning stages, and I want to take this slow. I'm probably going to document the journey as well. So
Yeah, yeah. There's just a
definitely
lot of
going to
moving
learn that
parts.
process.
It's very different than online arbitrage and wholesale
Yeah,
because you're managing everything. So anyways, good luck to you on that venture.
Thank
for
you.
sure. So moving on, like you mentioned earlier in this video, you've kind of migrated to another business model. So again, when we first spoke in the first interview, you had just started wholesale. So kind of just articulate how that's evolved for you now. You kind of already mentioned your primarily model is wholesale. So how did you get to that point?
Yeah, so I want to say I started a little over, I want to say November, December of 2022. So it's about almost coming up on a year and a half of wholesale, which is crazy because it feels like I just started Amazon like a year ago. But back when we first talked, I was kind of in the beginning stages, researching suppliers, going through, LinkedIn, Yellow Pages, Google Maps, the same methods that you hear everyone kind of talk about. But also kind of learning like ways to prevent like making mistakes, like, having valid supply chain is a big thing, and buying from actual authorized distributors is very key. But over the time, I've went to a bunch of different trade shows. I've been to Expo East. I've been to ASD 3 times. I was just there. I went to Prosper, and then a couple other smaller ones, which are more local to me. But throughout the past year, it's just lots of calling brands, lots of using Smart Scout. It's my main tool I use in the wholesale business. You could do lots of private label research, you could do lots of wholesale research, and you could do lots of online arbitrage research. It's a very diverse tool with plenty of features for everything. And honestly, it really just comes down to a lot of outreach with the wholesale. So throughout the past year, I've just been calling, dialing, talking to suppliers, getting denied from brands, trying to ask for, brand direct accounts. But usually when you get shot down, you kind of want to work your way down the ladder, which is like, if they don't want to do brand direct, you kind of look for their authorized distributors in their regional area. So I'm in the Northeast, so I usually kind of follow up with that question. And usually they're kind of willing to. It depends on the company. If you're working with if you're asking Neutrogena, they're not really going to want to work with you because they're under, I think, the umbrella of like P&G or Johnson & Johnson. I can't remember. So they'll just direct you to J&J or whichever company they work for. So, Unilever, P&G, J&J, those are the people you would kind of want to go to. So all the brands they own, they're just going to redirect you to the main distributors. And that's usually a great follow-up question. It's like, ask, who are your authorized distributors in the Northeast? I live there. My business operates there. Can we contact them? And usually some brands are very willing to. They already have a list. They'll email it to you, and then you kind of do the same thing. You rinse and repeat it and just kind of call them. So that's pretty much what I've been doing over the past year and a half.
And you said the majority of your suppliers are authorized distributors as opposed to brand direct, correct?
Yeah, I have 2 brand direct accounts. They are so. They're not like moving thousands of units a month.
Yeah.
One of them has 5 authorized distributors, so they do kind of space it out throughout the U.S. The other one's brand new. Right now, it's just me and another guy, so I'm still learning that. That one nice. I kind of just closed recently. I want to say like a week or 2 ago. And I do have like the authorized reseller role on the account, which is great because it shows Amazon that I am working with the company. So if I ever get inauthentic complaints, it's easy to get removed, stuff like that.
That role, what do you mean, role on what side?
So on brand registry from the company side, when you have a brand registry account, the brand can actually add authorized resellers. So they take my merchant ID and they input it, and then I'll get an email. And I've tweeted it a couple of times. I don't know if I've posted it on Instagram, but I've tweeted it. So if you look through the media, you'll probably see one of my tweets from a few weeks ago. And it basically just says you've been given like the authorized reseller role from said brand.
Kind of alluding back to private label, you have to get brand registered for private label if you want to make IP complaints to people that are selling your listing. I didn't realize you can make an authorized reseller on your brand registry. That's kind of just eliminates any kind of hesitation of Amazon not accepting some invoices or whatnot. So
there's actually a private label brand that my friend distributes for. He's an authorized reseller for a private label because they're basically just saying, we're done with Amazon. We just want to sell to an authorized distributor. So their margins are good enough. So their private label brand took off and they don't want to do the warehousing. They're like, hey, we'll send the products to you. We'll produce them and manufacture them. We'll send it to, I think they work with like 3 to 5 authorized distributors. And even though they're a private label, they just don't want to deal with the intricacies, the returns, the damage stuff, the liquidations. So they actually have authorized distributors through Amazon, which is crazy to think that even private label sellers do that.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's private label, just in general, any brand can go and get Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you fell upon that person, or you just kind of knew of him? How did that relate?
I He's also from New Jersey, and me and him kind of started Amazon from the sneaker world. So like
Nice.
I kind of knew him from that, and he told me about that story, which is fascinating. He came across it. I guess he was just calling brands, and that's how it happened. I don't know. It might
Nice.
have just fallen in his lap, but yeah,
So that the first kind of take it back to when you first started wholesale. I know a lot of people that just kind of Google suppliers near their area. Is that method still valid? And can you tell me also how you found your first distributor?
yeah. That's actually how I found my first distributor.
Nice.
Or it wasn't a major distributor; it was a wholesaler that had valid supply chain, um, and it was local to me. I actually did a pickup, so it was a New Jersey distributor. If you can find them, go ahead, find them. It was through Google Maps. It was a little bit harder to find. The margins were very slim, but I was very eager to like just get a test buy-in. They didn't really have order like maximums and quantities and stuff like that. So I kind of did a test buy with like 5 different SKUs and a case pack. And I don't work with them anymore because their importing costs went up and it really kind of cut my margins out.
I
But
see.
I found them through Google Maps and they're legit. I got to vet them out because I went there in person. They have a whole sales rep team. They have offices and like I've seen the warehousing, so it's very legit. But Google
So,
Maps, yes, that's still I think a reliable source. I think the thing you really just need to come down to and do is the vetting process, looking up their LLC info, looking up their domain history, and looking at their website and looking into the nitty gritty of that kind of stuff.
right. So when you say Google, like, did you just kind of Google the category you were interested in, and then like suppliers or wholesale?
Yeah. So what I would do is the category or subcategory if you really want to find like other stuff you instead
Right.
of doing beauty you could do skincare or hair care or cosmetics. It's just like a
Mhm.
step down and you're really kind of niching down that result.
Mhm.
And you're kind of going down like a pigeonhole finding like maybe other suppliers because the keyword strategy with Google is different. You're going to get lots of different results, so you can either do a category or subcategory. And then so like the word wholesaler, supplier, distributor will get you different results. I always try distributor first because you want to find authorized distributors. You can use the word wholesaler, supplier, but remember you always want valid supply chain. So if you do find like a wholesaler, make sure they're not a liquidator or anything like that because you're not really going to get valid supply chain unless the liquidator works with Amazon and
Mhm.
buys liquidations through Amazon, which is kind of hard to find. And then the third term, so it would be category, subcategory, the word wholesaler, supplier, distributor, and then city, state, county, whatever you want to do. And you kind of just play around with those results. So like for me, I started with Jersey and
Right.
New York and Pennsylvania and Delaware. And I just was searching all day, calling suppliers all day. And that's pretty much how I started.
So how long did it take you, like searching and calling to finally uh, nail a relationship with the first
So
distributor?
I wasn't using a VA, which
Mhm.
I didn't have good experiences when I did because
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to teach when you don't know how to find stuff just yet.
agreed.
So what I did was I spent a couple months just mass calling. I would spend like a week's worth, calling, and then I would have like 100 or so, wholesale lists and price lists, and I would be like, okay, and I would be on like email chains too because they'll get like weekly supply chain or weekly order updates of what they have in stock because people are always buying from these suppliers. So you kind of got to stay up to date with that. So whenever I got new, weekly updates, I would kind of throw it in Smart Scout or Scan Unlimited, and I would pretty much run filters that way through there. And you can change up the filters. Everybody has different margins. Luckily for me, I was in New Jersey, so I was actually self prepping in the beginning to cut
Yeah.
out, the prep costs. So my margins were a lot higher, and I was able to find and maybe buy some items that other users can't because if it's an oversized item, that costs a lot for a prep center.
Right.
And if I could do it myself or have a family member do it at a much more affordable rate, then it works out for me. So that's kind of how I started. And I'd say it probably took me maybe like a month's worth of going through a bunch of different lists to actually pull the trigger on that supplier. And
Okay.
it ended up going well. Some products did well. Some products I kind of broke even on because I wanted to just get rid of them as I saw it tanking. But that's just what happens. Like sometimes you just got to let go of products.
Yeah, I guess I think it was sometime middle of last year. I was researching heavily with wholesale. I had a VA also looking information up, and I was using Scan Unlimited. I probably should have spent more time on it, but it got to a point where I was spending so much more time on wholesale that, or researching wholesale, that I wasn't spending enough time on OA, which I was doing good at, at that time.
Mhm.
Um, but it got to a point where I would put in all the catalogs and Scan Unlimited, and I just couldn't find a product that was profitable. I think what I really needed to do is what you were alluding to earlier is call locally and just show up and show my face.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what you did on that first one, correct? And is that
Yeah.
what you did on these other ones as well? Or
Yeah. I think another big tip that a lot of gurus kind of just, I get a little upset when people kind of say this, but it's like people are like, "Oh, search for things that are like 30% ROI," and I'm like,
that,
wholesalers are making like 5% margin, like, and liquidators probably make a lot more, but wholesalers, distributors, they're operating on small margins, but they push volume. So you got to understand that. And I've seen coaches kind of say this, and I'm like, no, you want to under filter. Like you should throw in like a 5% ROI into your Scan Unlimited or into your Smart Scout, whatever tool you're using. There's a whole bunch of them, and you want to under filter because you might find a product that's on an upward trend. And when I say that, I mean it might have been the buy box might be on the way up and the seller count might be on the way down. And if you can find it at a 5% ROI now and everyone's kind of selling out, it might be a
it'll
15%
go up.
ROI in a few
Yeah.
days. So it's going to go up. But a lot of people kind of say, like, oh, target 20% ROI or higher. But like, you should actually under target it and kind of, work with more products to look at and then kind of look at the data. So it's a learning process, and I kind of understood that from the beginning. Um, but that's kind of how I do it. Other people might do it differently.
So I guess what has been daunting for myself, and I can probably speak for other Amazon sellers as well, is all the accounts are getting deactivated, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with someone buying some inauthentic product from a supplier, and then Amazon, of course, links that sold unit to all the other sellers that are selling that unit, and it's all like a big web, and then
Yeah.
people get their accounts deactivated. And just like I think I was telling you, my VA last year when she was doing the wholesale research for me, she came up on this distributor called Asian Beauty, I think is what it's called. Um, she told me, "Hey, I know a lot of other distributors that also buy from this distributor." I went on their website and I was selling beauty products at the time, and it was just some of the prices were just too damn good to be true. And sure enough, like I'm in this Facebook group that whenever someone gets deactivated, they kind of show who they bought it from and whatnot.
Hmm.
And one of them was Asian Beauty. Uh, don't quote me Asian Beauty. It might be like Asian something. But nonetheless, that kind of stuff, it just kind of makes
Yeah.
me kind of push back on starting wholesale just because I'm not versed enough to really legitimize a supplier and distributor. So, what are your tips? I know you kind of briefly touched up on it earlier by checking their registration, business registration address and whatnot. Can you dive deeper into how to just find a credible supplier?
Yeah. So number one, like I've changed up my vetting like processes over the past seeing so many deactivations. CSM brand review section threes. I
Yeah,
mean, even I had section three and
you
beat
did.
it. I had CSM. It was for Nike though. It made no sense. So like I just submitted all my invoices there from authorized distributors. Obviously, I'm not buying from wholesalers for Nike.
Right.
Like they're from retailers. So I'm just like, all right, here's the proof. Here's all the tracking. Here's the delivery emails. And if you give them what they want in a nice form, and do the
Right.
video review, you'll beat it. It's but the thing is, a lot of people do things unethically, or they forge documents, and they buy it from a friend, and then they don't have documents, and then they're screwed. So
Yeah.
that's one way that you can really harm yourself by doing it that way. But always buy from authorized sources. So that's the tip number one. But like I said, going back, I changed up my processes. I like going through brands first through Smart
Mhm.
Scout and then work my way down. So like I won't target crazy high performing brands if I want to do brand direct. Like if I really want to try for a brand direct, I'll target smaller and medium sized brands. You could filter by revenue to get smaller and medium size.
Okay.
But if I just want wholesale accounts and authorized distributors, you could target whatever revenue because you're going to get people like, Neutrogena, Clinique obviously got, harsher restrictions and all that stuff. But if you want to target the very popular brands, you're going to go to the J&J, the Unilever, those types of companies, and call them. But as for like other vetting processes besides just asking for regional authorized distributors, or ADs is what I call it, I like to look into the website. I'll even look up the URL and look up the domain of when it was created. So there's actually a place called Pack Distribution that everybody talks about. I think they're an ASD supplier, and they were somehow got my email. I don't know how. And they like started sending me stuff, and I looked up the URL, and it was like created 2 months ago, like the website. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to buy from them. That doesn't look good. Like if they cater to Amazon, usually it's a red flag. It's usually like liquidation, stuff like that, which generally doesn't have supply chain. Like I said before, unless they are affiliated with Amazon and can provide me proof that they buy from liquidations from Amazon, then I probably wouldn't even want to touch it. But liquidations from Amazon can still be fake items from other sellers. So it's like, I don't want to deal with that. So I like going brand direct, ask for regional distributors, and then my vetting process would be look into the URL, see who the domain was created by. You might be able to see the LLC, then backtrack the LLC, and just look up who the owner is, stuff like that. You can even ask for supply chain. If they don't give it to you, then it's probably not worth pursuing. Going through trade shows is a good way to go about it. So if you go to like Expo West, it's very brand heavy. So you're working directly with brands. So there's not really much of a risk through that. But if you go to ASD, there are lots of liquidators, overstock suppliers, stuff like that. So you do need to make sure you're getting it from authentic sources. And yeah, if you have good communication, there's a lot of other like nitty gritty stuff with vetting processes. But if they have good communication, if they respond to emails, they have a sales team, it's generally a good sign. If they're like catering to Amazon sellers and providing massive lists of, Amazon ASINs, it's probably a red flag.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, like I said, when I was looking into wholesale last year, I think the safest route was what you mentioned. If you go to the brand direct first and ask who their regional distributors are, those are probably your safest bet versus someone who messaged you on Instagram with a Telegram and whatnot.
Yeah, Telegram is a big no. Even WhatsApp, I don't like.
But even just like a local supplier, let's say you found a local supplier, how can you vet them and connect them with the brand that they're selling? Can you reach out to that brand and be like, hey, do you sell to this X local supplier?
Yeah, I would simply ask the supplier, like, oh, do you buy from the brand directly or do you buy from an authorized distributor? And if they say, yeah, just say like, okay, which distributor? And if they don't tell you, it's probably a bad sign.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't want to work. Maybe they're selling on Amazon themselves and they just don't want to tell you. There's lots of ASD suppliers that sell on Amazon themselves. And that's why they don't work with Amazon sellers. They're just going to look for B2B connections at those types of trade shows. But you can go straight to the distributor and say, hey, do you work with so-and-so? They're located here. This is their address. I want to make sure I'm buying from authentic sources. But yeah, that's a great way.
Okay. So I like to talk more in relevancy to new sellers. I'm sure there's a lot of experienced sellers who are also listening to this, but since you have such a large experience with both OA, online arbitrage, and wholesale, for a new seller, do you think they should start selling straight to wholesale right now, or still begin with online arbitrage, despite how complex and difficult it's starting to lean towards with all the fees and competition and whatnot?
I think with all the fees and everything now, I think what someone who's brand new should do is sell one product. And I learned this from Scott Needham, who owns Smart Scout.
Yeah.
You literally should just go to a Nike outlet or go to a store that's an authorized distributor, brand, or whatever. Find one retail arbitrage product that is from, I would probably say a Nike item because you're most safest with Nike, because brands can still send IP complaints, and just FBM one item and understand the process of how it works. That's it. Learn how to do that. I'm not saying dive into retail arbitrage first, because you are going to you will deal with brands and stuff like that with IP complaints, which you should have like IP alert or Keepa for those vetting processes. But I wouldn't jump right into wholesale. And it's actually funny because I got a DM today from someone saying, hey, I want to put in a big order from this distributor. Can you take a look at it? Sends me a website of a major liquidator, and he's asking me how to ungate. And I'm like, you want to put in a 5K order with a distributor you don't even vet at all, and then you don't know how to ungate? And
What did you find? How did you know it was a red flag that it was a liquidator?
it's very notorious for like not wanting, like, you don't want to buy from this supplier. It's called Pallet Fly.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you knew of the site?
Yes, I think everyone in the major wholesale space should stay away from it. But this guy seems like he was in like 2 YouTube videos, and then found a website off. He might have found something off like Wholesale Central and is like, oh, if it's on Wholesale Central, it's a reliable supplier. But that doesn't mean it's a reliable supplier. Gotcha. So unfortunately, if you follow a bunch of people on social media and YouTube, you might get misinformation. And even if it is credible information, it doesn't mean the suppliers are credible either. So you do have to go a long way. And I think just selling, one product through FBM will get you to understand the process, and, join free communities. Obviously, like, everyone has free communities nowadays. You can get a lot of info. Don't go and buy something that crazy without even knowing the ungating process is what was wild to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ungate first, and then then worry about it. Start with the small stuff. But yeah, I definitely think FBMing one product should be everyone's first task, and that could be an ungate product too.
Right. It is not, honestly, not even just one. I think I've always said, learning the process first before you do anything else is important. And that takes not only just FBM once, but 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. I still recall back to when I first started Amazon, and I started with private label, and it felt so different and foreign to me, the dashboard, how to do things, what the process is like. I can only imagine just jumping straight into wholesale in that aspect. I mean, I think starting with private label and experiencing Amazon for the first time might be the most daunting experience. But in general, if you get that first FBM order or even FBA out there and see that sale, it'll really build your confidence to where you'll want to keep on doing it. It's kind of addicting as well. But go ahead.
And I think there's less risk with private label too, because it's your brand. No one's you're not
in
really
that
selling
aspect.
In that aspect. Where wholesale, it's if you jump into wholesale, you might sell a brand and then get IP complaints or get inauthentics. People buy from Walmart for online arbitrage, and they don't realize they buy from a third party, and that's inauthentic goods from China. And then their account gets shut down right away, and then there's nothing you could do, and then their whole career with Amazon's done, pretty much. So there's lots of risk, which with arbitrage, whether it's wholesale arbitrage or brand direct, obviously no risk. Private label, no risk. But with arbitrage, definitely, buying from a credible source first, and FBMing, like you said, even if it's an ungate, you have 10 items. I did socks from Eastbay. That was my first 10 sales. I probably took a loss on all of them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Funny you should say that, because that's my one inauthentic complaint that I had to acknowledge, because my VA had got the lead from a Walmart lead, and I didn't vet it. I should have vetted it, but it didn't say Walmart, shipped and sold by Walmart. It was a third party from Walmart. No matter how much invoices, quote unquote, that I got from Walmart, they would not budge. And it was because they went on that listing and saw that it's from so-and-so. So I needed to get invoice from so-and-so. Yeah. I reached out to him. He was banned on Walmart. So it was just, that was the one time. So
yeah, I think there's a big one. It was It Cosmetics, which got restrictions. That was huge. It Cosmetics. It was a huge IT. Cosmetics was a major sale on Walmart, and it looked like a reasonable price, and 30%, 20% margin on Amazon, but it was Chinese suppliers on Walmart. And luckily for me, I FBM the product, and I noticed it, and I actually caught it real fast. And my first complaint was oh, I think this is, not the right product I received. And then I went back, checked, and I immediately refunded the person.
What did you check?
I checked who I bought it from on Walmart.
Oh,
it was a third party. So even I did it, but that was in the beginning. I made a mistake. I bought 10 items or 12 items, and I returned them immediately. By the time I went back to return it, like you said, suppliers probably banned already.
It's kind of wild that it's a lot of beauty brands also that there's fakes. There's inauthentic beauty brands out there, and that's why they're starting to really channel in that transparency code. and that's why I couldn't get either. The beauty brand had all of a sudden enlisted that transparency code. I couldn't do that. I couldn't retrieve that either. So, anyways, that was a big L for me back my rookie days. But
Mhm.
anyways, so you spoke about how to find a credible supplier. I wanted to also ask you, as far as OA, do you still do some OA, or is that kind of just out the window now?
Yeah, I like to do it. I think more when I have downtime. Like I'm
Yeah.
working with a solid couple of suppliers and a couple of brands. So a lot of my capital is kind of tied up with that. But if I do find OA items that are fast moving and I can really kind of go through my credit, sell it fast, and pay off the credit card, then I'll kind of go into some like OA stuff if I see it. But a lot of my leads that I find, I do have a VA that kind of helps me out with other OA leads. That goes to my group as well. But with OA, I kind of do Legos a little bit, and that's kind of all I do currently. But
Oh wow.
Q4 when it comes around, I'm gonna be like back to 50-50.
So you're
Hopefully
buying and holding right now, or you're just still flipping?
for Legos, yeah, I kind of hold it until Q4. I kind of did it the wrong way. I bought a little bit too early, but what a lot of people will do is they'll buy during Black Friday on sets that are about to retire, and then they flip it in December. And it might be a smaller margin, but you get rid of it within like 2 months.
What's funny is like I accidentally like fell upon just crazy ROI on some Lego sets because I'd buy them during Christmas time and they'd
Mhm.
return it and the price had tanked. So it's just sitting there. I mean, it was returned, but it was still mint condition.
Still good,
And then
yeah.
like by March of last year, I was like, let me just check on this Lego set. And it's like, just price
Great.
rocketed. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, this is what Legos
because
is
there's
like
no,
if you actually invest the correct
yeah,
ones. And I was buying some one-offs, it wasn't probably like revered as other Lego sets are.
yeah,
So, and I guess, yeah, in Q4, you'd be a fool not to just do OA, right? There's so much
yeah.
things on sale and
So much
demand is
good
just
stuff.
insanely high and an aberration. So, yeah,
Yeah,
understandably so.
I am fearful though of Lego coming in and just wanting to do
Yeah.
like I think right now they 1P it, which means they just sell to Amazon and
Yeah.
Amazon handles it.
Right.
But Lego could come in and just IP people, but
And get on the
they
listing.
once their stock they run out of stock, it's gone. So they just let people do what they want
Interesting.
with it. But um, I don't think there's an issue because there isn't an authentics. But if that ever does come about, which could happen in the future,
Mhm.
um, which hopefully it never does, but that could happen. So it's for now it's great. It's a great way to make money. I know people that even have courses on just Lego stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just focus on the retiring sets that retire. So for example, it's March of 2024. I want to target sets that retire in December, or even the ones that some of them retire in the summer. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of curate a list of like 10 or 20 that I want to focus on, maybe 30. And I cast a wide net because some will do 10% ROI within 6 months. Some will do 100% ROI within
Yeah.
six
Yeah.
months. So it's good to kind of go wide and get maybe 10, 20, 30 of each set if you have the capital. I like throwing it on a zero APR card because there's literally no risk and you
Hell
just
yeah.
pay the minimums. So that's what I'm doing kind of right now. I'm kind of holding. And luckily, my recent zero APR card had like a 12K limit. So I was able to put a good amount. And then I just throw it in storage.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I was in a group where they would just call out leads of Legos to buy,
Mhm.
what is it called? What is it called? Like kind of like in stocks when they tell you to buy something, hold it for an X amount of time. Um, I looked into it for a little bit, but I guess I just never got too serious with it. Um, so I wanted to kind of veer into the software that you use. So I still mainly do online arbitrage. I use Profit Protector Pro for my repricing software, and then BuyBot Pro for my listing analyzer. Can you briefly go over what you use in OA and wholesale?
Yeah. So I've recently switched up a couple of tools. Keepa, obviously, it's
Right.
always going to be Keepa. Jungle Scout I've been using because it has the whole profit calculation. It has keyword research as well. Um, Repricer wise, I am using Be Cool as I think I get a little bit higher in terms of sales per month. I'm probably going to switch to Seller Snap.
Okay.
But Be Cool, honestly, I have no issues with Be Cool. I know some people don't use it properly and they complain about it, but I think it's fine.
Right.
Um, Celeram's still a great tool. I do use it in addition with Jungle Scout. But
Mhm.
if I was a brand new user, I would just get uh, Celeramp seller
Right.
board, stuff like that. But I'm mainly using Jungle Scout right now because of the whole PL stuff. But
Yeah.
what else? I have a lot of tools. I have for
Scan
wholesale,
Unlimited? You don't use
Scan
Scan Unlimited?
Unlimited. You can see I'm repping Carbon 6.
Oh, nice.
Scan Unlimited, obviously, for all my catalogs, it's just super easy and efficient to use. They have tier systems, so you can start with the lower tier. The more things you have to scan, there's a higher tier for it, and it's a great tool. You can export all the data, stuff like that. Smart Scout also does similar stuff. They also have a lot. Like I said, it's a very diverse tool, so you could do OA research, brand research for wholesale. PL stuff, listing creation tools. So it's a very, very diverse tool. I really do like Smart Scout as well. 2D Workflow is my current bread and butter for inventory with their optimization tool that, kind of helping navigate through the hurdles of placement fees. I use that. What else am I missing? Sellerboard, obviously, is my
Yes.
P&L tool, but I use QuickBooks in addition to Sellerboard because it does have a what is it, integration with it. But
Yeah.
Sellerboard is my go-to because that's what my accountant obviously says I should be using for this kind of business. But I think that's everything. I might be missing something. I have a bunch of other Chrome extensions like OS add-on and stuff like that. But that should be it, I think.
Make sure you get them all in before the brands start getting upset at you for not repping.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Carbon 6 is my go-to. So I
Yeah.
use Seller Investigators. That's obviously my bread and butter with reimbursements. If you're a new seller, don't even waste your time at all searching through your shipments and trying to upload reimbursements for like small shipments, stuff like that. In the beginning, I used to do it, but it's really such a low value task. And you should be committed to looking for suppliers, calling suppliers, and doing the tasks that are going to make you the most money. And looking for little nitty gritty type things that save you $10 and it takes you an hour to find it. It's not worth it. Just have Carbon 6 do it. Seller Investigators will do it. Scan Unlimited, obviously, is my bread and butter with scanning. But yeah. And then Walmart, I do a little bit of Walmart. So Wally Smarter is my go-to for Walmart research. But their API is a little limited. So you can't get a crazy amount of data. So there isn't really lots of like very good tools in terms of like research. But Wally Smarter is a great estimator for everything.
You mentioned the QuickBooks. I think a lifesaver for me, especially since the business tax deadline was 5 days ago, I got a bookkeeper who updates my books at the end of every month. And it was like for the first time I was able to send to my CPA this like beautiful like Excel
Nice
sheet. And she was just like, wow, you got a bookkeeper. I was like, hell yeah. Because last year it was a mess,
Yeah, I'm still in
so
that place.
I can't suggest strongly enough to get a bookkeeper. Hella worth it. I mean, you can do it yourself. At least just make sure you're staying on top of it, at the end of every month. So you're not just looking at all your statements at the end of the year. It makes everything so much easier. Also, you met the shipment reimbursement softwares are great. I also have I have an admin VA who she's kind of a combination. She gets my leads, but also she checks and makes sure all the reimbursements are handled, any shipment discrepancy. So I don't think you should get a VA to that level unless you really start growing your business. And just, I mean, I guess you could just look at how much you're spending on your VA versus what you could be spending to Seller Investigators, or if you're doing it yourself. But awesome. I did want to pivot to Walmart since you did bring it up. I just started opening up Walmart. I should have done this a long time ago, honestly. I just got so tied up during Q4. I didn't want to put my time into something else when there was so much good profit out there. And now that I've opened up the Walmart account, I wanted to ask you, why did you start selling on Walmart, and how have you found success on Walmart? Because I know you don't do OA anymore through Walmart. So are you also selling your wholesale supplies through Walmart?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, why wouldn't you want to sell on another platform? It improves your sell through. You sell through twice as quick. The capital, you get your money quicker and faster, and you can implement it, and your cash flow is just better. You can deploy it on profitable inventory faster. So that's why I kind of signed up. I just heard other people talking about it. I've networked with some people that I met at trade shows and some people that are already have been on the platform for years. Now the platform is a little bit wonky. It is still like in the works of like getting better and better. And
it is, I can tell.
And their recent Q4 numbers look really, really good. So I think Walmart's going to have a very big 3P platform. And be a pretty good competitor in the future for Amazon, especially if they keep raising their fees. Because I know like 60% it goes to fees, which is wild on Amazon. But for Walmart, I'm just kind of testing it out right now because, like I said, the API is limited. There's not really a Keepa for Walmart. So you kind of got to just use tools like Wally Smarter, or kind of just go with your gut. A lot of people kind of go with their gut. They look at the reviews, they'll seller fulfill it, see if it moves seller fulfilled. It's generally a very good sign if you could sell a few with
your own data.
The merchant fulfilled. Yeah, because you're regional when it's merchant fulfilled, because they're not going to give you sales in California because I'm in Jersey. So they might if I'm the only person on it, but it'll show a very far out date based on your templates. And it's very similar to Amazon with the shipping templates and stuff like that. But I've been doing a lot of like testing out with certain stuff. I have tried Legos on there. They move pretty well. But I actually almost got screwed over by a drop shipper. So I ran into this issue where someone bought a Lego product from a drop shipper. The drop shipper found my storefront on Walmart, bought it from me, shipped it to their customer, and then claimed it never arrived. So they got paid from their customer, and then they got refunded from the order from my storefront they bought on Walmart. And I contacted the buyer, and the buyer's like, I didn't buy it from you. I found them. Like, I definitely broke TOS doing this, but I found the buyer and I said, like, you're defrauding like Walmart sellers. And she's like, I bought it from this random website. It was called like bonanza.com. And I'm like, oh no, you bought it from a drop shipper. So I had to like report them to like the website FBI. I forgot what the website's name is. But I actually have an account manager at Walmart, and I hopped on a video call with her and I explained the situation. I said, you guys willingly just give the customer their money back every time. So they like, I get it. It's like PayPal. They always trust the buyer, like the
especially
customer.
when you're competing with Amazon.
Yeah. So they always want a good buyer or customer relationship experience. So I reached out and I showed them all the information, and they actually gave me my money back. But I had to jump through some hoops. So that is the issues currently. There's lots of online fraud, and that's even with Amazon. Like I've seen a lot of people deal with it. So just knowing how to recognize it and navigate it, and be very quick to fix it is key. And that's where like kind of the admin stuff helps. It's small, like nitty gritty tasks like that, where you might have to submit a case and say, hey, this happened. I didn't get my money back. Like, for example, like with seller investigators, they recently added a couple things where it's if customers return the product past their 30 or 60-day window, I think it's 30-day window, they have like monitoring for that. So they'll actually create a case and say, hey, the customer abused the return system. I want my money back, basically. And they'll kind of do that for you, which is a nice little thing, because looking for those types of cases, it's kind of hard to manually do it.
It is.
And it's just like a good feature, a good like thing to do or to have.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of the things the only other platform that I really sell on is eBay. And most of that is just unsellable goods to Amazon. So my train of thought with Walmart was I'd probably attack it the same way. But in addition to that, like a lot of things I FBM, I'll list it on eBay, but it doesn't get sold as often as more of like liquidation kind of items like used shoes and stuff like that. I have sold some beauty products and some vitamins on there, but it's just not the velocity like Amazon. However, for Walmart, I assumed people were doing kind of a similar tactic, but you mentioned to me that software. So people are in fact sourcing for Walmart, is what you're saying?
Yeah. The price discrepancies pretty crazy with some stuff. Like even when Legos were just 20% on sale, some of the sets were like 2 times the MSRP, which is weird. And I would just buy one set, test it out, and it would sell. I'm like, all right, I'll buy a few more different sets. So it really just depends on the category of the product. Beauty, for some reason, is a lot lower. So like Clinique, for example, some of the stuff that got restricted, I actually had to withdraw my inventory, and I'm trying to push some of that on Walmart, and the prices is not even close to the same. Maybe it's because everybody has the same intention. But another thing, you mentioned eBay. I actually have my mom list all of my used stuff on Poshmark, and it actually sells very fast on
Poshmark.
And I just give her a cut of the percent, and I'm like, hey, list all of this under this account, list it on Poshmark. Poshmark's very like heavy into like I think like beauty stuff,
Yeah.
clothing, shoes, stuff like that. But I've even sold some used returns at my buy cost of when I bought it for online arbitrage. So I'm I'm taking a very minor loss, which is great. Um, and you could do the same for Walmart. It's just I can't do used stuff. I don't want to do used
Oh, you
stuff.
can. Yeah, yeah. Well, now that you mentioned Poshmark, like when you start your private label brand, like you should list wherever you can because cause my one of my PL brands is jewelry, so of course I listed on Poshmark and I got some sales out of it. Not nearly as much as Amazon, but I have it on eBay. Listed everywhere.
Do you have it or do you have it fulfilled through Amazon's network, or do you do it yourself?
No, the PL is FBA.
Okay.
I was talking about more so on eBay and Poshmark.
Yeah, I think Amazon has like a multi-channel fulfillment though,
Oh, that's
and
what
they'll
you're saying.
actually ship FBA inventory to other
Oh,
networks.
wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Walmart, you can't do it with Walmart because Walmart can see that it's shipped from Amazon, and it's in their TOS that you can't use like
Yeah,
Amazon as a provider.
right.
But you can use FBA. It's called merchant multi-channel fulfillment
It's
on
the
Amazon.
MCF. That's what the MCF
MCF,
is.
yeah.
I see it.
So I
Okay.
think TikTok. I think you could ship TikTok orders through Amazon. You could ship,
Okay.
and you could choose branded or unbranded boxing. So they'll actually use like blank corrugated boxes rather than Amazon Prime boxes. But there's probably a fee to that. I haven't messed around with it, but I do know it's an option for like people that want to have software that cross lists on eBay, Poshmark,
Yeah.
all those types of places. But it's a cool option if you kind of go that route, especially with private label.
Sounds like a private label gold mine or
Yeah.
just a benefit for
Yeah,
sure. If you have a
definitely.
TikTok presence as well as all other presence, the MCF would work
Yeah,
brilliantly.
it's just
for
one
sure.
location with your stock. You don't have to like kind of operate two businesses or two warehouses.
Right. As it pertains to Walmart, is it the same kind of issues if you have an authentic violation or IP complaint? Do they ask for the same kind of forms? Have you ran into that kind of problem before?
No, I think it's a little bit still early in the Walmart days. I'm sure
Yeah.
if you get complaints, like something will happen. But I've never got. I mean, I saw authentic goods. Like my Legos are fine. My beauty
Right.
products are fine. My Nike is fine. So
Well, it's not about you. It's what the customer complaining about it, right?
yeah, I mean,
Like,
I've had some complaints, and I'm just like, hey, I have a template, which is just the customer like this is
yeah.
how you go and return your order template. Because you'll actually get a pro seller badge for better customer response, like times. So you have to be above like 95%. You need to have over 250 orders a month, and you get a pro seller badge, which actually gives you discounts on certain stuff. So you'll actually save money or profit technically. So I've only had complaints of maybe it arriving late, but I haven't had or heard of anything about IP brands like stepping in, stuff like that, or inauthentics at all. But I think it's a little early to tell. But I'm sure Walmart will kick sellers off if you have those types, or like if you hit a threshold.
Oh yeah. Like I said, that one inauthentic complaint that I got that I had to acknowledge was from a third party seller in Walmart.
Yeah.
And by the time I tried to reach out to him, he was no longer
gone.
on that service
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm
because
sure
he
there's like a
already had-
metric for it because I know that's
Yes.
how it works with Amazon.
Right. Right. So I guess, I mean, it's good and bad. I guess that seller that was on Walmart selling all those inauthentic goods probably made money, right? Before he got kicked off. So it was like a risk
They
reward.
probably have hundreds of LLCs and accounts. These people, I'm sure, they're
Yes.
just trying to get rid of it.
So it's worth it for them, essentially. But I guess that's a good thing. I think Amazon cracking down and deactivating a lot of accounts, while I do think a lot of them are legitimate sellers, there's probably a percentage of them that are being deactivated for the wrong reasons. They were probably doing everything by the books, but still got deactivated. And I feel horrible. I feel bad for them. But the other ones, I think there are some that did cut corners. Maybe they're not admitting to it. And with Amazon specifically, like I try my best to keep everything clean as hell. I never cut corners. And if you just do that, I think you'll be just fine. But there are some like restricted products. The what's that brand that just got Clinique? Clinique yesterday was the last day that you could sell Clinique. And Amazon sent an email 2 months ago saying, hey, this brand's about to be restricted. You don't have to do anything. It won't impact your account health. Just you can't have it in stock anymore. Dude, I woke up this morning with 21 suspected IP complaints.
I saw 40. Someone posted 40 in another group I'm in.
I had 21, and I was like, "What the
Gotta delete
hell?"
all the listings. Yeah.
Well, what pissed me off is like Amazon said it won't impact your account health. Because I just removed all the inventory that I had, and I assumed okay they'll just take it off. But I mean, I called. All you really have to do is delete the listing and then acknowledge, and it'll come off. But still,
Yeah.
just a whole another thing that I got to worry about, and the whole forgiveness thing. I always feel like there's just an X amount of those forgiveness passes that they'll give you, and I now got to
Two
waste it.
slaps on the wrist and that's it.
Yeah, and I
Because
got to waste
technically
on this
you're
thing.
authorized selling, technically. So
Yeah, it's
as long as
ridiculous.
you're getting it from an authorized source, that's what they're. It always comes back to supply chain, and I'm going to say it a billion times, but and Amazon will be able to see it on the back end, but to get it off your account, it sucks that you do have to acknowledge it.
Yeah,
But it's kind of like a paper trail for Amazon. So like they know you kind of crossed a boundary, and
right.
to get it off your account, you kind of got to do that. But 21 or 40, that's wild. That's
But it's just dumb because like they literally emailed 2 months ago saying it's not going to affect your account
yeah,
health, and it doesn't. They're all no impact because they're suspected IP complaints. It's like it's really
yeah.
nothing. And I'm like I had a received IP complaint 2 weeks ago, and I was first time ever I was able to contact the brand, and the brand rescinded the
Oh, and
violation,
like get it
which is
retracted. Yeah, that's
it,
nice.
it was insane. Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
I don't know. Hopefully, this one isn't a big deal, but I'm about to have to use 21 forgiveness passes tonight. It's
Yeah,
fucking ridiculous.
hopefully
But
all goes well.
so, back to Walmart. What I know you mentioned the one of the downsides was just the dashboard isn't up to date and just clean. There's probably not an app. Is there an app as well for
There's not an
Walmart?
app. I went to Prosper Trade Show, which is like a solutions provider trade show all about software. And Walmart had a massive booth. And the first question I asked them was, "When is the app coming out?" And
Right.
they said it's in development because everybody wanted me to ask them. But I don't think
Nice.
it's their primary like focus. I think they just want their desktop like to be fully functioning and just work well, which it does. It's just it's hard to find certain stuff. It's you gotta do a lot of thorough research, and they have
Well,
good guides though.
back in 2011, I mean, it's probably where Amazon was back in 2011, 2012, and that's why I want to start jumping on Walmart as soon as I can because there might just be low competition right now. And who knows how the future is going to unfold. And my people
Yeah,
start going on Walmart to buy stuff over Amazon for all you know. So
yeah.
maybe Amazon goes in hot water for some reason
You
and
never
people start
know. I mean,
migrating over Walmart. You never know, and if
yeah,
you already have a deep presence in Walmart, you already have that competitive advantage, right? So
yeah. They are being a little strict with opening accounts. They do like people with LLCs that are generally a little bit older, like 2 years. Um,
I saw that.
there
Yeah.
are some people that can kind of like help you out in the Walmart community. Like if you find someone on LinkedIn, I do have a guy that helps some of my mastermind members to like force theirs in, but they do like LLCs that are older. They like people with websites because they'll ask for a website. And usually, what you could do is say, "Hey, here's my Amazon storefront. We do X amount revenue per month. Here's our P&L sheet." And that's what I did. And originally, I was denied. And the second time through, I kind of said that. And I said, "Here's my data. Here's what I do. I know other sellers doing a third of this. Why am I being denied?" And then they pushed it through. And I was like, "All right."
I did see, I can't remember where I read it, but it said something about the 2 years of seller history.
Yeah, I think when they decline you, there's an email and it kind of says certain things they want in a Walmart seller. It's weird because I've had members sign up and they get approved, and I think it really just depends on who's reviewing it.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
I think they're not using AI. Maybe who knows?
Just a case by case. So like when they asked me about my business and stuff like that, so my LLC has been formed for 3 years now, for the private label stuff, and then
Mhm.
I've always had it. But what I did was I just took a snapshot of my Amazon storefront and just told them how long I've been selling, and here's my reviews are like over 90%, and that I didn't realize they were strict. I was just like, I'll just give them some information. I should be fine. But
Mhm.
in hindsight, after I submitted, I started reading more into the approval process, and they kept mentioning this 2 years number. And I didn't even show them that I had 2 years of selling, evidence at least. I
Like
told them
data
that.
or
But I
something.
didn't
Yeah,
show them the evidence, and they still approved me. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think they just want people that go the lengths. Like
Yeah.
Like most people don't even try to appeal it, and they don't realize that on the seller dashboard you can go to business verification decision, click
Mhm.
that, and then it'll say appeal process. And if you can log into that page still, you could click that and appeal it and
Mhm.
add additional information with adding like a file, like what you kind of said, like a screenshot or whatever.
Mhm.
uh, or maybe your business formation saying, hey, my LLC is 2 years, I've been doing X amount of revenue, here's my storefront. And that's kind of what I did. And like some people don't even go that far. And like there's people in my Discord and they're like, oh, I got denied, and then they give up. And I'm like, well, try
Yeah.
harder. So
So speaking about your group, I'm sure there's a lot of new sellers as well as experienced sellers in your group. See, I didn't realize so many people got denied on Walmart. So I'm sure you had experience talking with new sellers who are applying for Walmart, starting Amazon. So what are some common problems that arise that you've seen from new sellers in your group that you could discuss that maybe someone who's watching this could could help someone that's watching to circumvent those issues?
overall with like Walmart or Amazon,
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
um, listening to misinformation online, I think is like the biggest thing. It's like for example, the guy who came to me and was like, oh, I want to buy 5K from this distributor. How do I ungate this brand? I'm like, whoa, take 20 steps back. Let's
Yeah.
focus on ungating first. Let's buy a pair of socks, or let's go to Target and buy that brand and let's ungate it. So I think a lot of new sellers tend to rush things because they see all these people flexing posts. And I honestly have stopped posting sales bars because it kind of recruits the wrong type of people. Uh,
Yeah.
and I deleted the app because I was spending way too much time. And when you kind of flex sales screenshots, it's kind of stupid because no one really knows at the end of the day what their exact numbers are. Like you might
Right.
it might show 10K, but it doesn't show returns, it doesn't show used and like damaged inventory. It doesn't, at the end of the day, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at QuickBooks and I'm seeing money in, money out. I'm looking
Yeah.
at my bank accounts, I'm happy. But like I said, you kind of recruit various types of people with that kind of post. And I kind of stopped doing that because I would get people in the Discord and it would be very,
Trying to get
uh,
rich quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
get rich quick kind of people where it's like they join the Discord, they're like, what suppliers do I buy from to make 5K? And I'm like, that's the whole totally wrong concept, the wrong
Yeah.
mindset to have.
They're looking for
So I
short-term
think
gain.
that's the biggest issue people have nowadays. It's like they kind of see a social media post, someone flexing a Rolex or a Lambo, or a sales screenshot saying I made 10K this month, and in hindsight, they might not even have their buy costs in their app, and it's just them flexing 10K a month to maybe recruit someone for coaching. Whereas like I'm a little bit more transparent with my members, and I tell them like I only made 7K this month, or I only made 5K this month, or I liquidated a lot of inventory, so I didn't make much this month. So I try to be very honest with people, and I try to show them like how the business operates. But best advice for sellers is just take it slow, join free communities, learn from people like you and me, learn from podcasts. There's plenty of good podcasts out. If you want online arbitrage, you have Miles has the Buy Box Bandits, which a lot of people start from. Their beginner episodes are great because
Great.
it really shows like their first, I think they're on like probably hundreds of episodes now. But if you go to their early days where like they were actually in the business, those are the great like episodes you kind of want to like listen to.
Mhm.
And then for wholesale, you have, I haven't announced it, but I am going to make a podcast soon, probably in a month. So
Nice.
that'll be exciting. I am going to partner up with another person for it. So you guys will obviously see that first. And I'll probably post about it on Instagram, stuff like that. But Corey Gannum, also another person I've
He's great.
networked with. I've talked to plenty of times. I even had the pleasure of eating with him at ASD for a
Oh,
couple dinners. He is a incredibly intelligent person in the wholesale space. And he has a great podcast that brings in lots of wholesale guests. So just investing in, your knowledge. I kind of stopped listening to music in the car and I started listening to audiobooks and I started listening to
I've
podcasts
been on that
more.
way. Yeah.
And honestly, it's really helpful. And telling an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old jumping into Amazon to stop listening to, rap music and listen to a podcast,
Dang, bro.
impossible. But
Straight to rap music.
if you could, yeah, I mean, I like listening to music too, but that's what the gym's for.
No. I feel
I'll
you.
listen to podcasts when I'm doing cardio or something and, driving around. But best piece of advice, I kind of went on a tangent. Free value, learn from free communities. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's so many trolls out there in free communities. Just ignore them. I have people that, make fun of people for saying, where can I go ungate? But learn how to research stuff first. Like, you can just search in a Discord. You could search in a group and, keyword search the word ungate or target and find out where people are ungating Nike. But there's so much free value out there. Like Instagram, Twitter. I put so many threads out on Twitter. And LinkedIn, all of my information is like cross-platform posted everywhere. And most of my coursework is honestly probably out there in the open. You just got to go through and read everything. But no one's going to go through my Twitter for the past year's worth of tweets. So that's where the whole course comes in. And like, I'm sure you're like the same way with giving out value bit by bit. But this is what dedicated people that want to actually learn do. I followed so many people in the beginning. I had, 100 people. If they were posting whack content, I would unfollow them, and I would follow the other people that posted good content. If I saw good threads, I would follow them on Twitter. I would turn on tweet notifications so I could read it. And people like Corey and Miles and stuff like that just put out valuable information. Those are the types of accounts you kind of want to follow. And there's an insurmountable amount of free knowledge out there. You just got to be careful who you learn from and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think if you're first starting, there's no reason to buy anything. You were talking about those people that come in and just try to get rich quick. It's honestly not their fault, because a lot of those people that are flaunting and showing off their sales numbers and whatnot and being very disingenuous with their numbers, they want those people. Fortunately, like you and myself, we're more transparent, honest, and we're not, trying to just guzzle their money. But the ones that are like flaunting, those are the perfect people they're trying to find. So that's great. Just if you're first starting, get information from knowledgeable and credible people and just binge watch everything. Don't just straight up buy a course just because he or she just posted, I don't know, 20K sales a month.
And if you are going to buy a course, ask around first. Like,
right.
Don't just buy a course if it's like $5,000. Oh, it must be good. No, ask around. Say, I don't see anything wrong with buying a course immediately, because people want to expedite the process and forget the mistakes. Like, I've made so many mistakes. Right. Someone bought my course. It's only $400. I'm sure you have offers and you have your group. You'll learn a lot of mistakes from like the people that have like been in our shoes. I don't see a problem with buying a course immediately. It's just ask around. Literally post a tweet, follow a bunch of people, ask around, say, hey, what's the best course for this? And then ask in a few different free communities, and you'll probably gather a good amount of info for that.
Right. Yeah. And there's also a bunch of free courses too. I have a free course. I think you have a free course as well.
I have like beginner's guides on my Gumroad that go over everything, like finding suppliers, hiring VAs, all that kind of stuff. And I just use it as kind of just like content for Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. So if you go on, I think it's like Gumroad. What's up?
Where can we find it? Your free course?
Gumroad.com. I think, what is it? Gumroad.com/TonaFBA. And you'll find all of my like free content. Now, it's not crazy long courses and stuff like that. That's where you'll find all the free stuff. If you want to find like the course and all that other stuff, everything is on WOP, WOP.com, which is WHOP.
Right. Yeah. And that's where you can find my course as well.
Yes, yours as well.
/FlipsNation. You can put those courses on WOP now.
Yeah. I actually I implemented all of it already. And they just added that you can actually do quizzes and knowledge checks. So the past week, after each module, I'll do like a knowledge check. So like module 1 is all about the basics. So a lot of users that kind of know the basics and they're learning wholesale, they might skip that stuff. I'll let them skip it. But if you're brand new to Amazon and you want to, go through module 1 at the end, like quiz 1, some of the questions are, what's the maximum weight threshold you can send an SPD shipment, which is 50 pounds. So it'll give you like multiple choice and you have to get the answer correct. It gives you a grade at the end. So you can do quiz or knowledge check. Knowledge check is basically ungraded. Quiz is graded. But I have questions like under the wholesale module, what's the maximum weight threshold for an LTL, like a pallet shipment, which is 1,500 pounds. What's the maximum height, 72 inches, and all other, crucial stuff that's going to prevent you from getting your account deactivated and stuff like that, or getting shipment performance errors. So like, should you buy from Alibaba.com for online arbitrage? No. For PL, maybe. but
Yeah.
like little tidbits of that in module 1 quizzes are in there, especially when it comes down to like the nitty gritty of vetting suppliers and should you buy from third party sellers on other marketplaces? No, stuff like that.
So
But
I
yeah,
wanted to
lots of
kind of
amazing.
wrap it up with this question here.
Mhm.
What do you think has changed from 2023 to 2024 for new and experienced Amazon sellers? And do you believe it will still be profitable venture moving forward in the Amazon space?
Yes. Although the placement fees, which we can touch on real quick.
Yeah, let's touch
Um,
on that.
yeah. So the placement fees, the number one, at the end of the day, people are saying it's going to, weed out arbitrage sellers and stuff like that. Amazon's just doing this in the greater good for the customer experience. They want better logistics. I think most of the issues come back from PL sellers that can't maintain their stock, and it provides a bad customer experience for maybe business customers that are on like the subscribe and save or the replenishable ordering, and all of a sudden their supplier's out of stock for 3 months because they are doing sea freight and they can't get their logistics in
Lead
place.
time. Yeah.
And it does hurt the arbitrage sellers because you're paying higher ship costs. You have to ship to different places. Even with wholesalers, the placement fees, basically, if you get one shipment or a full truckload and now it gets split up into 5 small shipments for pallets, or if you have one pallet and it gets split into 5 SPD shipments, it sucks because you're paying a higher ship cost per pound, but your sell through is probably a little bit faster. It does kind of suck, but in the eyes of Amazon, they just want better logistics, which I get. You're just going to have to aim for higher margins if you're an arbitrage seller. But
Yeah.
and
I
then
think
for the
it'll
low
just come
inventory
down.
fee, yeah, and then for the low inventory fee, which is coming up, I believe
Yeah.
April 1st, I have a whole thread coming out on that, which is I'm excited to post it tomorrow. But
But that's going to be more or less worse for arbitrage sellers.
yeah, so that one's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And I kind of go in detail about that. It's very, very long. I'm going to go on a tangent, so I'm not even going to explain all of it. But basically, Amazon's saying if you have too little inventory, you're going to get feed. Basically, how it works is the average number of inventory you have on the daily divided by the average number of inventory you have shipped daily. Whatever that equals, it has to be over 28. So they want, basically, the equation is they want 28 days worth of stock, and then you avoid the fee. If you have under, then you get feed. But this applies to a 30-day threshold or a 30-day parameter and a 90-day parameter. So if either of those are above 28, you don't get feed. If you're completely out of stock and there's nothing in FBA, you don't get feed. There are some exclusions. So if you're a brand new FBA seller, your first 365 days from your shipment, you are exempt.
Right.
New ASINs are exempt for 6 months. And there's a bunch of other small stuff like for seasonal products. They give you advice on how to like properly manage that. But I think people that work with seasonal goods and arbitrage goods will be impacted the highest.
They'll feel it the most. But I think at the end of the day, this will just trickle down to the price to the customer. I understand it's making a better customer experience, but I also think at the end of the day, these arbitrage sellers are going to have to increase their prices to profit, which will end up with customers just paying a higher price. So it's a push and pull with Amazon. Maybe they're testing it out because, they could always rescind this fee down the line.
Yeah.
But I think
and the market will adjust too.
Was that?
The market will adjust too, I think,
Yes.
with the arbitrageable products. So like, yeah, the fee goes up a little bit, but most people don't actually realize is the fee on April 15th of 2024 this year, the fulfillment fee drops 20 cents for standard products and it drops 61 cents for oversized products or large bulky products. So yeah, your placement fee might go up a little bit, but your fulfillment fee is actually being reduced. So they are trying to help sellers. They just want better logistics. And on your inventory page, it will actually tell you your historical days of supply. So you can filter by like the lower numbers, which ones will get feed, and you can focus on repricing those, focus on getting rid of that stock or not, buying those products.
Yeah, and the placement fee isn't as egregious as most people are making it sound. I mean, it's like an extra. Like yesterday, I sent something that was about 30 pounds, and it was like $5 more for a placement fee. And if you divide that out by the number of units you have, you're not spending that much more per unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so this low inventory fee that's might be a little bit more incendiary towards arbitrage sellers.
Yeah.
For wholesale sellers like you, I think you can kind of calculate your lead time with your units, and you should be fine.
Yeah, it sucks for test buying. So test buying, you have to FBM products to get your gauge on stuff. which sucks for people that aren't in a tax-free state. So
Right.
you might have to just trust the data and go with your gut. And if you get hit with a fee, your margins are less, so you break even, that's fine. But if you're an arbitrage seller, you're probably in the beginning stages. So you have the 365 days to, avoid this fee. But at the end of the day, the sellers that know their logistics and that are good with math and stuff like that will pretty much escape somewhat unscathed. But you just got to know your numbers. It's really,
Right.
And trust and listen to the software.
Get seller board ASAP.
Yes.
ASAP.
Definitely get seller board. I'm a huge advocate for that tool, and it's so cheap. It's like $15 a month for beginners, and then it's also a tier system like Scan Unlimited, where the more orders you ship, the higher it is. But if you're shipping more orders, you're probably making more money and can afford
Yep.
it. So,
And then also get a bookkeeper. They can probably be pretty expensive. At least know your numbers. I have a VA as a bookkeeper. He's pretty affordable. By the way, if you need a bookkeeper, let me know after this. Very affordable, and he's on top of it.
I definitely don't like doing my own taxes and keeping up with the books. So I definitely will take you up on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've suggested him to a couple other people I've interviewed, and they like him as well. So
nice.
Back to that question about how things have changed from 2023 to 2024. How about on the competition element? Because I've seen a lot of sellers drop off. I never really noticed it until I really started looking around, at least in the Instagram community, right? I can't look at the whole community as a whole, but have you noticed drop off, or where do you see competition right now?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went on a tangent. I forgot to answer it. So competition wise, I think there's always, you coach, I coach, plenty of other people kind of coach and mentor and advocate for more sellers on the platform, because obviously there's a demand for it.
Yeah.
But so many sellers do fall off. So many sellers get Section 3'd or do things wrong, or
that's
drop ship products, or they're shipping FBM orders in branded boxes and they do things wrong. And that's the stuff in my course that people get quizzed on. Like, can you ship an FBM product in a Walmart box? No, you shouldn't, because you'll get deactivated. Right. And they think it's drop shipping, Amazon. But to answer your question, lots of sellers are falling off, yes, but lots of sellers are coming on. I don't think there's like a crazy competition to the point where if someone joined like one of our communities today, they wouldn't be able to make money. There's always going to be new brands. There's always going to be new sales.
Yes. Yeah.
The faster you are to the sales, the harder you work, the quicker you can find those deals. And with wholesale, it's all about consistency and like persistency. The more you contact suppliers, the more you pester these brands to, give you a shot at, working with you. You never know. A brand might say no today, but how I have it in my sheet is like follow up every 3 months.
Nice.
So if they say no today, they might fire their person in charge of, e-commerce. And in 3 months, they have a new hire that's looking to maybe work with authorized distributors. So you never know at the timing when things change. And I think following up, there's always opportunities. But in terms of competition, yeah, you're always like, you and me are competition. But I think if someone joins, like, they can make just as much money as we can. It really comes down to how much effort they actually put into this. The less time you put into it, the less money you'll make. But if you have a 9-to-5, if you're a college student, you could still make money doing this. You just got to really put in the extra hours, and you'll have success, basically.
Yeah, with all these like fees that are coming in, I can see a new seller just looking at this in just a daunting viewpoint. But just an optimistic viewpoint on my end is I don't see the seller count going as high as I've seen it like in recent years. I used to see a lot of 50, 60, 70 seller counts, and now maybe I'm looking at better products, but I don't see that anymore. And and like you said, every day there's new products that are also entering the market. So the product opportunity has increased. Maybe it's beating the number of people that are coming in. Hopefully it is. But I still see new brands every day, and I've been selling for almost 2 years now. And it amazes me how many new brands there are. And when I go on that listing, there's 20 sellers on there. So I'm thinking, okay, these 20 sellers have known about this brand for the last probably year and a half, and I never did. So every day I see new brands. I don't see competition as much. So if you're a new seller and you're seeing all these fees that are coming up and horror stories about deactivation, I think take what Mike's advice was and get one product, FBM it, get used to it, and then start getting that confidence build up going by seeing your sales, and you're off and running.
Yeah, and just learn from others. Really, just
Yeah, that too. Join
like
a
I said,
community.
like join free communities. Ignore the haters. Ignore the trolls. There's always going to be those people. I was in that place when I first started, and I pestered people with questions all the time. It's just like how I started
Yeah.
with sneaker botting and shoes. I would ask people how to do everything, how to run the software, and it was all free advice. And man, I wish I had a course on sneaker botting at that time. I probably would have made millions.
There
But
was some
no
guy
one
who's a
really,
mentor. Who
yeah,
do you
no
know what I'm
one
talking about?
really did it.
Huh?
No one really sold
No, there
courses.
was some guy, his Twitter was like, I mentor sneaker botting edit. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Interesting,
But you're right, there was no course.
yeah,
There's always trolls. I always think of like Balco at Discord. If you said one wrong thing, Balco Discord, they
I
would
never had
destroy
Balco, thankfully. But
my
going
friend.
back on the competition thing real quick.
Yeah,
I kind of like the new fees because it kind of does create a bigger barrier of entry
it
to
does.
sellers. And
Yeah.
since I'm doing more wholesale, it's like I could probably
Yeah,
get away
benefits
with
you
it.
for sure. Yeah.
For newer sellers that do arbitrage, what my advice is maybe talk to your prep center, or do, if you're doing your own shipments, maybe try to do shipments once a week, where instead of doing multiple shipments like every day, if you do a big shipment and it goes to like one facility or two facilities, the pound per, or the cost per pound for that shipment will probably be a little bit less. So that's kind of my advice. Because if you're shipping, one pair of shoes to a buyer, it's going to be an $8 to $12 label. But if you ship 16 and it goes to two fulfillment centers, it might be, $15 and $15, and $30 across 16 pairs is obviously $2 roughly a unit, compared to, for one, it's $10 or $12 or whatever. So if you try to bulk your shipments as an arbitrage seller, you might save a little bit more on shipments. And that's kind of what I've been doing with like other prep centers that I know the owners of. I'm like, hey, if you have arbitrage people, like try to bulk their shipments together. If they're only getting 50 units in a week, maybe just wait and just get 100 units or 200 units, the bi-weekly shipments. Yeah, your sell-through time is going to slow it down, but you're going to save a lot on costs. So it really depends on the product itself, because if your sell-through is quicker, you get the money faster. But if you want to save on shipping, then it's to each his own, really. But
Yeah, I think my prep center won't even ship unless you have at least a minimum of 50 units.
That's great.
And they also FBM, which is at this point, I got to look at the fees, how much they charge for holding inventory versus Amazon, because there's some slow movers that I'm like, maybe I'll just have the prep center FBM, rather than get to Amazon and look at all these fees and whatnot. So it'll be based on how much fees I'm accruing versus, what the prep center does. But I've had them FBM to eBay as well a few times now.
That's nice. I mean, I think a lot of prep centers, and I've talked to a couple owners about this, I think because of these placement fees, a lot of them are going to incorporate FBM because
they're worried.
They're kind of
worried.
Fees. People are going to want to get rid of stuff ASAP. They're going to double list their ASINs. They're going to tell the prep center, hey, here's my label for this product, blah, blah, blah. But who knows? We'll see. I think, like I said, I think this creates a little bit of a barrier to entry. I think the arbitrage sellers might fall off more, or just pivot to wholesale. So we'll see.
Or maybe I should just FBM everything and just forget about all the fees.
I mean, if you can run a West Coast and an East Coast operation, I would do that.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Can you really shout out all your socials, where to find you, your community, your groups, and what you offer?
Yeah. So obviously it's TonaFBA. I think it's in this direction. Literally everywhere. I'm trying to put out more YouTube content soon, but I post majority on Twitter and Instagram. As for my group, if you just go to discord.com or discord.gg/FBA secrets, that's what the group name is. It's completely free. I think we have about 4,800 members within the first 10 months, which is great. So I try to target very beginner sellers, people that want to learn. I'm very transparent with, like new users. So it's just FBA secrets. If you go on Discord, you can just search that. It's also in all my socials. But and then if you want more paid stuff, we have a lower tiered option, which is $60 a month, which is, you get a weekly call, but everyone comes together and it's just me giving out advice. You do Q&As. You get some coursework in that. And then all of that stuff's on whop.com/FBA secrets, and WHOP is WHOP. I have the course there. I don't really promote the course as much, but if you're a brand new seller and you want to learn, I think it's a very good course compared to what's out there nowadays. And then obviously I have a higher tiered mastermind, so it's more consulting. You get access to a booking call link, and you can talk to me literally whenever you want. Not every day, but if you want to learn how to source a little bit better, if you want me to watch you source, you can book a 30-minute call with me. And this is more for sellers that want that expedited one-on-one type, kind of like hand holding. I don't like to call it hand holding, but more just one-on-one access to me. They can pay for the higher tiered price, but all of that's on wop.com.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll link Mike's socials in description below, so you're
Thank
not gonna have to rewatch just what he said.
Join
Also,
the free
yeah, on
community
Twitter-
first, obviously. Yeah.
What's that?
Join the free community first because it's free,
Yes.
and then you'll see all the offers in there anyways. So
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and definitely follow him on Twitter. He's been posting just really informative and articulated everything
Lots
down
of
to the
threads.
wire on his threads. So great follow there. I think you have a thread coming up about the placement fees, correct? Or it's a low inventory fees.
tomorrow, actually.
Nice.
I think something like that. I might have it. I have so many threads coming out, but just follow me and you'll see a bunch. I think tomorrow's a thread on my accounting method, which is profit first, which is a story for another day. Maybe we'll do a third call, but my banking method is through profit first. So if you're interested in that, just read the book. It's called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. It's a great book for e-commerce sellers.
Those threads have really accrued a lot of engagement, right? Because I've noticed because I don't think you started posting a lot of threads until as of late, correct?
Yeah, I think this year, January 1st, I started kind of. My
Nice.
goal was to write one informative tweet per day. So what I do with my content is like once a month or bi-weekly, I'll kind of sit down and write out 14 threads or 14 informative tweets about e-commerce or Amazon or Walmart. And just like Tuesdays, I'll do just like Tuesday tips with Tona. And it's just like how to find UPCs on the back end of a website, just small informative stuff for arbitrage sellers. I'll do, how to vet suppliers, small things. And then every other day, it's just like a random thread on what I do in my business.
Got it. Okay. Well, everyone, again, the link is below to his socials, and you can find his Discord community free, his course and whatnot. I'll have it below. Again, great follow on Twitter. Posts a lot of great threads, really informative things for your Amazon business.
Right there.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on for a second time. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. And if you guys enjoyed this content, make sure you like and hit the subscribe button, and we'll see y'all on the next video.